All right, good afternoon. While you're eating lunch, we're going to have our lunchtime presentation with Elemy Yeme, a master's in education and is a certified BCBA, a behavioralist. And so Elemy has been, it's a little bit of background. So I'm Aaron Harding, I'm on the board, and Jackson, my son, was diagnosed in 2015. He's a miss since. I'll say this again. Please come see me. The lead facilitator for, and so I wanted to just make sure, based on what you've heard the last couple of days, to know what we're doing strategically to kind of help and what we're doing to lead on addressing missense from a scientific perspective and for a treatment perspective. Jackson is just turned 18, so we just went through conservatorship and we're trying to figure out life. So it goes by very quickly, so be prepared. And we've, since 3, Jackson was diagnosed with seizures and autism, and he's had challenging behaviors. So behaviors for us has probably been the worst. Medications have been a contribution to those behaviors. I'm a retired Navy Medical Service Corps officer. My background is clinical lab science. I have several deployments to the Middle East, managing blood programs in support of the medical units. So that's left Monica, who's probably the more well-known person in the room, who's not in the room, but she's probably the more well-known. If you watched Cannonball for the Cure, everybody's watched Cannonball for the Cure, yes? All right, well, she was the character this year who Cannonball for the Cure, and she's excited to do it next year. Providers all the time. And so that really was pretty impactful. But Elemy eventually ended up on with us every 6. I think we're going on 5-6 years, and we've been through COVID, and COVID was hell. We've had a lot of high highs, and we've had some like really lows. But I can tell you what's changed Elemy, I think what's changed Elemy, and what should happen in the BCBA autism community is how BCBAs as practitioners look at patients holistically. What meds are they on? Is there constipation problems? How do those problems relate towards behaviors? And so I think you're going to hear a lot of that today, but it's looking at it again from a holistic standpoint. And again, I would encourage you, if you're working with your BCBAs, if you have one, you please need to advocate for that, make sure the data, we'll go through that. But at this time, I'll turn it over to Elemy, who's in San Diego.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, awesome. I am really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I promise you we're going to have a great time together, but we're also going to go through a lot of information. I only have a limited amount of time with you guys, so we're really going to power through. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Can you guys see the slides, Aaron? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So the first thing I'm going to go over really quickly before it gets started is some general announcements. Please know that you will get a copy of my slides along some of bonus content at the end of my presentation. You're more than welcome to take some notes, but again, you'll get a copy of these slides. This presentation is not professional advice. Consult with your healthcare provider or specialist for specialized intervention guidance. And then not all information presented here is endorsed by the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. Please refer to the BACB guidelines for authoritative information. And lastly, I will be sharing a few client stories today. I want to let you know I will be avoiding using any names for client confidentiality, but I have been given full consent by my clients to share these stories. So with that said, we're gonna get started. I would like to ask, and Aaron, you can help me with this, with a show of hands, who here either knows me, has talked to me, knows about me, knows what I do? I just kind of want to know where we're at in the room.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 hands in the room. 6.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome. So it looks like maybe most of you don't know me, and that's awesome because the one thing I wanted to share with you guys is why I ended up here, why I'm so passionate to talking to you guys. And that's where I like to start, just kind of like introducing myself. When I started my career in the field of behavior analysis, I started just like everyone else as a behavior technician. A behavior technician, for those of you who don't know, are the people that work directly with the client, implement the behavior plans, and help reduce those maladaptive behaviors. One day, I was assigned a high-profile client. A high-profile client is a client who has a history of severe behaviors. And my supervisor at the time said to me, I'm going to quote this: the family thinks that they are different. I'm also going to quote this: the family thinks that they can do what they want. I was told that this family had been in services for a long time and that some of our highest level clinicians had worked with them, and that they truly didn't believe that our services were the right ones for them. So because of the complexity of the case and how severe the behaviors were, they really didn't think that we could help them. So my role was to follow the rules and not expect much out of it. I was very confused as to why I was being told that we couldn't help this family when literally our only job was to help them. Young behavior tech me didn't know what to do with that information, so I kind of ignored it, which was great. I started working with this family and this incredibly fun boy, and then one day everything changed for me. The mom said to me, I live in a jail in our own home. We can't go anywhere. And when I heard that, my heart sunk. And immediately, it really became my goal to do everything I could to get this family out of that jail. And why do I tell you this? Why do I think that this is important? Well, I think that this is important because just how I was told what I was told about this family, many of you may have been told similar things about your child and your circumstances, by your doctors, by your family members, by society. Maybe you too feel like you are living in your own home, in your own jail. Or maybe you too feel or have heard that your child is never going to achieve X, Y, or Z. See, luckily for me, I didn't let the works of this supervisor cloud my judgment. I went on and did my thing with the family, and within a few months of working with them, we made more progress than they had done in years. This kid right now is not only getting out of his house, he's going into places that once were thought to be impossible to go to. We've reduced behaviors and accomplished many things. If I told you all of our success stories, you would literally think that I'm making this stuff up. From stopping to use diapers or pull-ups at the age of 15 to going grocery shopping, rock climbing, doing medical appointments without being held down or sedated, hygiene routines, surfing, paddleboarding. I mean, you call it. The kid really lives his best life. As parents, when you enter the world of disabilities, you are told many things. There's an overemphasis on deficits, on challenges, and the inevitable hard road ahead. You are told that your child and your family will never have the life that you once imagined for them. What happens in those moments is that people, even with their most genuine intent, they take your power away from you. And then you start feeling isolated, hopeless, or like these were just the cards that you were dealt with. And Aaron, I hope you're listening. I have a question I would like to ask. Like, who here in the room has felt like they are isolated, that you feel overwhelmed, or that nobody really understands your circumstance? Percentage. Aaron, what do you think?
I would say 60% of the room.
Okay, so over half. If I had listened to that supervisor, I would have come into that family's life with an underlying assumption that would have limited my capacity to help them. I would have never given them the chance to see what was possible, and I would have, just like everybody else before me, taken away their power to improve their circumstance and change their quality of life. Watching their transformation is truly what changed behavior, changed perspective for me. This is when I realized that the family wasn't different. The family didn't think that they could do what they wanted. This family simply wasn't supported appropriately. they didn't have the right support to see what was possible. Is this making sense? Thumbs up, Aaron. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this, sorry, I heard something, but never mind. This is really important. This is a shift that is crucial to making meaningful behavior change in your family. Without it, all the strategies and the frameworks I'm about to share with you to help you understand and overcome aggressive behaviors won't matter. It is so important. In order to do what is needed, you must believe that you are the most important agent of change in your child's life. Okay? And I just want to be clear about one thing. I'm not saying that everything that you have heard in the past is all untrue. For some of you, some of these things true. Your child may never drive a car, may never go to college. But what I'm saying is that taking on others' ideas or beliefs, no matter how well intended, it has the potential to take away your power and prevent you from achieving a quality of life that you once thought was impossible. So to wrap this part up, I'm going to tell you the most important thing that you're going to hear me say today. Behavior change is possible, even in the most complex of circumstances. And you don't have to accept a lesser quality of life than you deserve. So hopefully you're internally feeling like, let's go share everything with me, because what I'm about to share with you is the process that we have used to support every single one of our families to create meaningful, long-lasting behavior change. This is going to be foundational to helping you overcome your child's aggressive behaviors. Okay? So we're going to go into that 5-step process. As I mentioned, we have used it with many families and we have seen it be successful even in the most complex of circumstances. It will help you and your family overcome your child's aggressive behaviors. Now, this process is not simple. It is not, but it is, I'm sorry, it's not easy, but it is simple and it is effective. So we're going to go over those 5 steps. First step, change your mindset, which we briefly talked about already. Super important step. Number 2, build a relationship with your child. Number 3, understand EY's fundamentals of behavior. Number 4, create a harmonious environment. And number 5, review, revise, and repeat. Now, for the purpose of today's presentation, I'm going to quickly overview each step and really focus on what I think will make the biggest difference for you guys right now. Okay. So step number 1, change your mindset. Here, we typically help parents understand what is possible. We explore some of the assumptions that we have made by listening to other people, and we help families feel hopeful and powerful again. Things that we look at in this step are things like limiting beliefs, values, goals, self-care. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that we always work within what's realistically possible for your child, considering their unique abilities and needs. So I'm not saying I'm going to bring you the moon and the stars, but I am saying that we will help you see what is possible. In step number 2, build a relationship with your child. We go over the variables to truly build a connection with your child and to have a working relationship with your child. What that means is that your child follows your directions. They actually follow, listen to what you're telling them what to do. They follow your lead and you are their trusted guide. And just really quickly, because I am curious, show of hands, who here would like their child to listen to them on the first time you tell them?
I would say 100% of the room. And that includes
Awesome.
neurotypical children too.
Awesome. Well, the cool thing about this step is that it also works with neurotypical children.
And spouses.
As you can see, this is a very important step in the process. Things that we go over in this step is trauma-assumed approaches, the body-brain connection, and the steps to building instructional control. Okay. In step number 3, we go over the fundamentals of behavior. These are super important to understand because this is how we go about analyzing behavior and creating that behavior change. They are very important to help you understand your child's aggressive behaviors. We're going to spend some time on these ones. Fundamental number 1, every behavior has a reason. Nothing happens without a cause. You may not see it or you may not know it, but it is not without a cause. I really encourage you guys to get very curious about why these behaviors are happening. Fundamental number 2, when a child engages in aggression or self-injurious behavior, we can safely assume that their nervous system is in a fight or flight response. In other words, they are in a fight or flight response. From a treatment planning standpoint, we should respond accordingly. Think about it. When a baby gets startled, our immediate response is to try to comfort them, to give them that sense of safety. We should be doing the same with our kiddos. Fundamental number 3, all behaviors have multiple reasons. I'm going to give you just a clear example. Right now, you're eating. Your behavior of eating has the purpose of accessing the food and also avoiding the pain of hunger or the discomfort of hunger. When you go on vacation, you want to access the destination and you also want to escape or avoid your environment, whether it be home or work. So all behaviors have multiple reasons. For those of you who have ABA in your homes already, I really encourage you to look at those behavior plans and see how many reasons are being addressed for one behavior. And then if it's only one, I really encourage you to get curious because more than likely, we're not being as effective as we could be. Fundamental number 4, all behaviors are learned and they get stronger or weaker based on what happens after the behavior occurs. Because all behavior is learned, if a child has not been taught something, we really shouldn't expect them to know. I'll give you one that comes up a lot in this area. Waiting, patience. I hear all the time, my child is so impulsive. My child wants what they want when they want it. Right now, they can't wait. And then my follow-up question is always, have we taught that child how to wait? Because patience is a skill. So if we haven't taught it, we shouldn't expect them to know. So remember, all behavior is learned. Fundamental number 5, behavior is the result of the person and their environment. Everything happening internally and externally at any given moment. I love a quote I read once that says, the child I am treating at 9 a.m. is a different child that I am treating at 9:10 a.m. What that implies is that we are constantly changing, and so is our environment. So for true behavior change to happen, we need to be able to adapt quickly. Fundamental number 6, encouraging good behavior is more effective than focusing on the challenging behavior. So many times we focus on reducing the challenging behavior that we forget to focus on increasing the adaptive behavior. What else do we want to see? What more do we want to see of, Here is one simple strategy that I think will help everyone in the room, and I can guarantee everyone could greatly benefit from it. Attempt to engage in positive expressions with your child 5 times more than you engage in negative expressions. And then if you're able to do this, I will love to hear what you find. Fundamental number 7, behavior usually stays the same unless something makes it easier or harder. In other words, behavior is driven by pleasure or pain. So for behavior change to occur, you have to increase pleasure or decrease pain. And then fundamental number 8, every choice has trade-offs and possible unexpected results. For behavior change and behavior intervention is like any hard test. There's no right answer. There's only a best answer. Any decision that we make in the environment for our children is going to have consequences on their behavior. So we have to get really good at making the best decision at any given moment. Are you guys with me? Just give me a thumbs up, Aaron. I can see you. Awesome.
happy.
Awesome. I'm happy too. Okay, so we're going to continue powering through. We're going to get through, this is step 3. We're going to go to step 4, creating a harmonious environment. This is about creating the ultimate environment for your child. In order to create a harmonious environment for your child, we need to understand the environment, spot the triggers, and achieve harmony. To understand the environment, we need to think of this as understanding the backstage of your child's world. We really need to get deep in there and get at that level. We need to understand the aspects that make your child want something or not want something. What are the aspects or the things in the environment that happen when the behavior happens? For example, when a kiddo gets sick, they are more likely to engage in aggression. Or when they're hungry, they are more likely to be more irritable. What are those particular things for your child that associate with that behavior? And then we also need to understand why the behavior occurs. We just went in step 3 over fundamental 1. Every behavior has a reason. What are those reasons? I typically look at the reasons for behavior in 2 ways. The lens of applied behavior analysis, which is 4 reasons: sensory, escape, attention, and tangible, and through the lens of the body-brain connection, which are a safety reason and a connection reason. It's a survival mechanism or a need to connect and have that social relationship. Okay. Once we understand the environment, the second strategy is spotting the triggers. To spot the triggers, imagine of this step as detective work. We have to find the clues that lead to a behavior, and they are just like clues. Some of them are really easy to spot, and some of them require a little bit more digging. We want to find both positive clues and negative clues. So when your child engages in adaptive behavior, when they're behaving basically amazingly and they're having the best day of their lives, what does that environment look like? What makes your child want to engage in such good behavior? We want to know those. And then we also want to know what about the environment makes your child engage in those aggressions. Could it be the tone, the task, the person, I don't know, the color of their shirt? It could literally be anything. This is why it's so important that we look at it as detective work. What are the reasons? And then step number 3, when we understand the environment and we spot the triggers, we put all that information together and we really achieve harmony. This is how we create and tailor that environment for your child. We first start by teaching behaviors that allow your child to thrive in their own world, not in ours. What do they need to learn in order to thrive in their world? We then educate, train, or adjust people. This is to ensure that everyone around your child understands their unique needs and they can support them appropriately and consistently. And then we change systems as needed. To the extent that is possible, when something is not working, we just change it. Schedules, routines, therapy, school settings. A clear example for us, for example, is in our organization, we do not have behavior technicians working with SYNGAP patients. That is because SYNGAP has a level of complexity that warrants a level of proficiency. So that's an example of a system change that we did to be more effective with our intervention. So, still with me? Good, thumbs up?
Yep, everybody's still with you.
Okay, awesome. So once we understand that we are at the center of behavior change for all children, we build a positive relationship with them, we understand the fundamentals of behavior, and we do what we can to create a harmonious environment, then the last step is review, revise, and repeat. This is where we continue assessing and modifying the environment to maximize harmony. The really cool thing about this process is that it works for every behavior. So it will help you overcome your child's aggressive behavior, but also if you ever hit another roadblock, you can come back to this 5-step process and it should give you the same results. Now, these are the 5 steps that we follow to create long-lasting, meaningful behavior change. Like I said at the beginning, it's not a quick fix. It is not a Band-Aid. It is what's required to truly achieve the outcomes that we are all looking for. I know that for some of you, this may sound like it's out of reach because the tantrums, the aggression, the self-injury are already unmanageable. However, even in those scenarios, the process is still the same. We just start a little bit backwards. And this is what I'm going to share with you in this last portion. What we do when the behaviors are already happening at high levels. Basically, we focus on these strategies that I'm about to share with you. We implement them, and then that typically gives us a decrease in behavior fairly quickly. And then we start the 5-step process. Okay, so again, when behaviors are already present at high levels, aggression, self-injurious, meltdowns, tantrums, these are the strategies that I typically recommend. Number 1, take a deep breath. I know you probably have heard it a million times. It is so important to actually stop and regulate your nervous system. This allows you to regulate your nervous system and model for them calm behavior. One thing that is largely overlooked across the board is how in tune children with disabilities are with their senses. They pick up on the smallest of signals. So if your nervous system is activated, it will heighten the response. Even if you think that you're not showing that, they can sense it. So really take a deep breath. At a physiological standpoint, it helps regulate your body and your nervous system. Next, create silence. It's such a natural response to want to talk to them, to calm them down. But more often than not, this just makes it worse. I'm not saying ignore the child, be present, but remain quiet and avoid overstimulating them. The less that you can talk, the better. Number 3, stop the behavior. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but trust me, if you can, give them what they want. If you know what stops the behavior and you can give it, do it, and do it quickly. The goal here is to de-escalate your child as quickly as possible, because this allows us for more opportunity for learning, for teaching. On the contrary, if you allow your child to be escalated for a longer period of time, it's a lot harder to regulate their nervous system, and we miss a lot of opportunities for teaching. And then after you have focused on all of these 3 strategies first, we do what we call modify your delivery, which is changing your overall approach in which you direct to your child. And this strategy is crucial. It looks at it through the lens of the body-brain connection, that again, when a child is engaging in aggression or self-injury, their nervous system is dysregulated. They are in a fight or flight response. So what modifying your delivery allows us to do is to send them a signal that their environment is not threatening. Their brain in a fight or flight response, their survival brain is what's activated. And their thinking brain, which is our prefrontal cortex, thinking, language, executive functioning, all of that goes out the door. So we're really trying to speak to their survival brain and show them that we are not threatening. So what we do for this is we keep a pleasant tone of voice, we avoid firmness, we slow the rate of our speech, we reduce the complexity of our language, we use minimal words, maintain a positive affect, and then you want to remain at their eye level or lower. Literally, I will go and drop to the ground when I talk to these children to show them that I'm there to help them, not to threaten them. And with that, I think that wraps it up. The last thing I have for you guys is the QR code for this presentation and some bonus content if you want to take a look at that. But other than that, we can open up for questions.
All right. Thank you, Elemy.
Yeah.
She may have presented that somewhat in a simplistic idea that it really does work. there's some complexities in how to execute that, but it really does work. It really does work. And if you're willing, you besides your child is willing to have behavioral changes, because it's not about the child only, it's about us interacting with the child and recognizing the environment, all those things she's talked about, it truly will work. But it's a lot of work, and it has to be both parents have to do it consistently is crucial. But we'll go around and catch questions. Anybody have questions?
Hi, just a quick question. I understand there's a big role in positive reinforcement here and understanding your child, but when is it time to say no and to kind of just punish him and sit him down and say that he's going to be like punished for something he did so that he realizes it's wrong, he or she actually, but my case is my son.
I would, in those instances, I would really recommend that we look at, does the child understand? Have they been taught that the action that they engaged in is wrong? If they have not, then we shouldn't punish them yet until we have set clear expectations and we have made it very clear and taught them what is right and what is wrong. I wouldn't go to punishment yet. Does that answer your question?
Hello. Something we've struggled with ABA, like we've learned so much from ABA, but something that all his ABA therapists have struggled with is many of the behaviors we know, what causes it, what triggers it, but there are times where our son will be sitting and playing, he's happy, he's not hungry, he's not, everything's good. And then all of a sudden, it's like an electrical charge. He'll just like smack you in the face or something or grab your hair. And over the past 5 years, we've been hyper paying attention to all of this stuff. And that's the one behavior that we're just like, it's got to be neurological, something, just like a zap almost. So in those situations, any input?
Yes, this is a big one, particularly for SYNGAP kiddos, right? Like I've definitely have experienced that firsthand, that zap that you're talking about. I would encourage you guys to look at a little deeper, because a lot of the times those neurological zaps get paired with things in the environment. I'll give you an example. I've had instances in the past where a seizure has happened and the dog barked at the same time. And now every time the dog barks, there is a behavior. So these are little nuances that can help you really discriminate what is neurological and what happens in the environment that we can control. So that's the first thing I would do. And then also when it happens, go to the strategies through the body-brain connection. Like I said at the beginning, not all of this is endorsed by the BACB. It's looking at it through outside of ABA. When those zaps happen, you can imagine and assume that that body is in a fight or flight response. So what you want to do is show that child that they are not in a threatening environment. And that would be my go-to immediately.
If we're not in San Diego, what advice could you give us as far as trying to find someone that would be good to work with in our area? Are there resources, platforms, questions, interview tactics?
Off one, because it's so disappointing to say there isn't a lot in regards to what your specific need is, which is a holistic, very comprehensive approach. You can always reach out to us and we can see what we can. What area are you in? Let me ask you, see if I know anyone.
They're in Atlanta, Georgia, or
Atlanta.
North Atlanta, yeah.
Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not sure, and I can't direct you to specific like resources or anything like that, but I can certainly put something like that together, and then you can always reach out to us and we can see how we can help you. But that's another barrier here. Accessibility is tough.
Hi, thank you so much for everything you said. My question is dealing with stopping the behaviors and also how that goes against, rewarding the bad behaviors. So I kind of struggle with that a little bit at home with, trying to change his attention to something, my son's attention to something else. But a lot of times it is that rewarding bad behavior to stop the behavior. So do you have any recommendations on how to make that go more smoothly?
Yeah, do it quickly. If you're going to reinforce the bad behavior, do it quickly and prevent it as much as possible. That way, if you know that it's going to happen, you're not really reinforcing it if you're doing it before it happens, right? Like, let's say that your child engages in aggression to get iPad, and then you remove it and you give it back. Don't remove it in the first place so that he doesn't engage in the behavior for you to give him what he wants. A lot of the times I always go to the question, what gives me more? Ultimately, there's a give or take. So if I'm going to keep that child at an escalated state for longer, it's going to be more difficult to de-escalate them. And ultimately, it's going to be more of a battle. That battle is not worth it. Like, give it and figure out how you can teach the right behaviors. I'm not saying with stopping the behavior that that's the only thing that you should do. You should include to that stopping the behavior all of the teaching, all of the proactive strategies so that you can actually get out of it. But that's more of a quickly reactive strategy. I will always go to stopping the behavior because to me it's just not worth it to keep that child dysregulated.
Okay, we have one more question.
It kind of goes with what you just answered, but at the same time, sorry, I was wondering if you're giving them what they want to stop the bad behavior, is that at the same time, should we worry about that? Training them that if they do the bad behavior, they're going to get the item? Or where do you draw the line or know when they're doing it to get what they want?
This is kind of like what I mentioned. Stopping the behavior is not recommended as a sole strategy. You have to have the comprehensive approach of teaching them the right behaviors and having all of those antecedents. Stopping the behavior is a consequence-based strategy. You want to keep that nervous system as regulated as possible for as long as possible. Where you draw the line is what I mentioned early. What does your child know and what don't they not know? If they don't know, that's where you don't draw the line because we haven't done our work in teaching the child what the right expectations are. This is what I'm requiring you to do, and I know you can do it because I've taught you that. That's when I draw the line of not giving them and reinforcing the maladaptive behavior. But if we have not done any of that work, I will 100% always stop the behavior by giving them what they want.
Right. And I think too, right, and correct me, Elemy, if I'm wrong, is what they're asking, is it reasonable at that time, right? So as an example, they want to go outside in a training. Is it that big of a deal for them to go outside? You might get wet too, sorry. But, is that something that is reasonable at that time? Maybe a question based on what they're asking additionally. And then as we wrap up with our behavior is, ask yourself if you're hyper vigilant or under vigilant. So oftentimes with our kids, because they do have aggressive behaviors, you're more likely to be hyper vigilant. I can tell you with your kids, they sense every sense of that emotion and it does not help them. And if you're under responsive, which, that would be typically me, then I won't tell you who the other person was. But again, it's a fine line of when to respond to what's happening with that child based on what's happening in the environment at the same time. It's not easy. It's assessing and always assessing because something could have happened 5 minutes ago. That's a precursor to what's going to happen, what's happening now. And you may miss it. So you've got to really look at it very comprehensively, just not in the moment, to understand what's happening. And the other thing is, so we're going to be in LA next year, which is close to San Diego, and you can always move to San Diego. But we have no housing, which is crazy. But we're talking about trying to have a workshop on like the third day or something like that. That would be really helpful to engage. And Elemy's consulted many BCBAs that are out there to help be successful because behaviors is a big deal for us, and it is different in some ways. So please use us, use Elemy, and we're happy to help you. And there's great advocates with you're going to meet earlier about challenging pervasive autism and such, where there's challenging behaviors. So again, thank you, Elemy, for your presentation today. We love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.